Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode on interesting applications when studying mathematics and future potential career paths. So, just a brief note, there's a really interesting book called Helping Children Succeed. It's free to read or download. And from this book, there's an interesting view of what you learn during school. So at the bottom is, stress management, self-regulation, then, on top of that, social awareness, relevance of school, academic tenacity. So we'll really be focusing on relevance of school today. Later, future video, I'll be focusing on academic tenacity, but today's one is really just about curiosity. So get your curiosity hats on, and let's try to explore a few interesting journeys and applications. So, briefly, what my job is, firstly, is a data scientist. So it's known as the sexiest job of the 21st century, according to Harvard Business Review. What I do is I forecast future sales for a major Australian retailer supermarket. So we get to see how much people buy for milk and what their behavior is and how they respond during the year. So get to see some really interesting sales patterns. So just to show this, I don't have real data, but I do have a pal who has done this on this LinkedIn post. So using openly available data, he's looked at the liquor sales, so the number of consumed wine bottles. So there is a peak, as you can see, every year around Christmas, but during the middle of COVID, so when it really just started, let's say January or sorry, March 2020, there's this huge uptick in everybody drinking wine. And then interestingly, that's come down a bit since then. So maybe we're returning to normal, and it will be someone's job to forecast this. What will the future wine sales look like? Which would be the job of a data scientist. Onto the first interesting case is art. So you may not immediately think art and math go hand in hand, but recently it does. So for this case, there's this model called DALI 2, and it's a mathematical model. And what it does is it's learning from trends across different pictures and to recognize bears and things like that. But what it does is when you input a text, so you just have a text string, in this case the description is teddy bears mixing sparkling chemicals as mad scientists in a steampunk style. And then from just that text, the model will give you back an image, which is these, and it will give you multiple images, which is really cool. So I suggest you experiment. There's a website here. Um, I'm not sure if the model is widely available. People can correct me. But this is just one case of having a really strong foundation in maths can lead to really different and interesting cases in creating new types of art. The next one is music. So everybody generally loves music. So you might be curious to know how does Spotify recommend what its next song is for you to listen to? Let's say in the Discovery Weekly playlist. So there is this great article here, and roughly speaking, it'll be um, understanding what you listen to, and maybe the types of genres or types of artists you listen to, and then comparing that to what other users are listening to as well, and then using a lot of mathematics, let's say matrix algebra in particular, it'll recommend what's a song that it thinks you'll really like next time. So at Spotify, there'll be heaps of data scientists working on this problem, which could be really interesting to see what people are listening to and how it's changing over time, perhaps. And another interesting tidbit is that just in general, perhaps people don't listen to the radio as much these days, and more is because this Spotify recommendation is really good and really relevant and can cater to all the different types of genres. Another one is shopping. You might not have heard of this one before, but in the UK, there's an Amazon shop where you can register, and then you just take whatever you want. Just walk out shopping, and then what will happen is that you'll get charged later. So it's pretty cool. This lady seems a bit guilty, like she looks like she's stolen something, but no, she's got her phone out. She's been charged for whatever box of chocolates it is. And how it works is there's like video systems and things like that, and recognition systems to detect when you've taken this item off the shelf and to add it to your shopping list, and to convert that video into a, a really an action to detect if that action has happened. Takes a lot of maths to do that, safe to say. Next one. So we could talk about using maths to create CGI, which is absolutely a really interesting way. Another way is just to look at interesting mathematical figures from movies. So there's these movies. First one is Hidden Figures, of the three African American women who are kind of behind the scenes and playing an instrumental role in getting America into space. So very inspirational movie, very highly rated as well. Another one is Imitation Game, so more like winning a war through cryptography. So very smart Alan Turing character. Also likes running to get his mind off things, interestingly. Um, and a really cool wartime movie. Next one is video games. So I do like video games myself. This one's of Age of Empires, and you do use a lot of maths here to figure out how long does it take for you to do something, what's the best unit, what's the best strategy, which one will win over time. So definitely a lot of maths applications here, as the professional players can tell you. And however, I won't really dwell on the video games myself. I will pose a challenge that, we're working hard, improving at these video games, which is fun, but also why not make it valuable for society as well? And, do what you enjoy, but at least consider, what else we could do with maths, still using video games. So that's where this case comes in, which is it's a video game. But really we're doing maths in this kind of sandbox environment, and really we're kind of developing this technique called reinforcement learning. So what it is just that each of these little characters get a little brain inside of them, or an agent, to control their actions to achieve a certain task. So the blue ones will be trying to hide, it's hide and seek. So they'll be trying to push the boxes to block the entrances. And the red ones, of course, after a certain amount of time, will just try to capture the blue ones. And I've frozen it at this particular spot here because it's really interesting that at the beginning, the blue ones, they learned that like little babies, they would learn and they would push the blocks to block over time, but there's this ramp here, and the red ones can push the ramp to go over the wall and catch the blue ones. And so what the blue ones found is that they could actually exploit the game and shove the ramp off off the map. So there's no more ramp. They've exploited it. Very intelligent, not something that a human might be able to find. They shove the ramp off the map so that the red ones can no longer get over this wall, which is really crazy. You might be thinking, this is a silly game, how will we ever use this? But actually, it's the same technique, reinforcement learning, really the same kind of concepts, which will get us to autonomous driving. So driving without the machine driving for you, is what I mean to say. So you don't need to drive anymore, the machine will drive for you, and it'll be using deep reinforcement learning or some other techniques, and of course that's based on a lot of maths. The next one, and we're kind of getting to potential career paths now. So this one is healthcare. So with potential career paths, there may be, I think, still really interesting, but definitely super applicable to kind of the problems that we're facing in society. So on healthcare, in this case, this is a Kaggle competition. So it's an online competition. Anybody can join up. All you just need to do is register, and then you can download these images of chest X-rays, and then you can build a model, or let's say, yeah, a model to detect, is there something abnormal? Is there like, some phlegm, some like congestion in the lung, or is there even like a lung cancer or something, perhaps? So this is really useful to help doctors diagnose issues. So it could take a doctor quite a long time to go through thousands of X-rays, but using this model could be very accurate and help save doctors a lot of time to diagnose different medical conditions. Also, so that the doctors can spend a lot more time on doing better things, such as patient care or more research, for example. The next one is different types of engineering. So I'm going to copy this from a book I got my 1.5-year-old son. It's all the different types of engineering, and you can read this at your own pace. So there's like mechanical, aerospace, electrical, chemical, biomed, civil engineers, building all sorts of really cool things, dams, hearing aids, car engines, things like that. And at the bottom of this is engineering, but really as a foundational subject, where would you start? It would be mathematics. Okay, I'm going to have a brief aside on psychology. You may be thinking, I thought we were talking about maths. Why are we talking about psychology? But bear with me. So firstly, I'll go through this example on the left, which is what is the secret to happiness? You might be thinking about. There's some great courses on this as well on the internet. But really from this article, it's trying to study people over time and see what are the factors which make people happy or less happy. And it could be diet or exercise, or I'll spoil it, it's relationships. But what you might be asking, keeping our curious hats on, what sort of relationships? Family relationships, friend relationships? Are they deep relationships, narrow, or spread many relationships? I don't, to my knowledge, I haven't researched it, but it's a future research area. And if you wanted to find that out, let's say to study psychology, all you have to do is from this example, say you're going to the University of Melbourne. In the second year, you'll be studying experimental design and statistical analysis. So what that means is you'll be using maths, well, not just maths, but statistics to find out what is happening to people over time and how do you really set up a good experiment to find out these really important and answer these really important questions. Uh, then this one I'm going to talk about clean energy. So of course, another big problem in society is having clean energy and dealing with climate change. So safe to say it uses a lot of maths. There's a lot of different types of energies being proposed, and one of them is fusion energy, which is not yet here yet. But there's been some recent breakthroughs you might be interested to know using reinforcement learning. The same thing as that blue character shoving the ramp off the map. It's kind of like the same key concepts to help control and help make fusion energy commercially viable. So a lot of research here going on, and definitely a future area um, of research. Now on sports. So everybody, well, not everybody loves sports, but a lot of people love sports. So this one is a few examples of the one on the left is a cyclist using physics, his knowledge of physics, to gain an advantage. So he's laid flat in this very weird looking position because he knows that air resistance slows you down a lot. How much you need to calculate using math, and he'll know that when he puts himself in this position, he's able to catch up to his competitors who are busy pedaling away and not getting anywhere as fast as he is. And safe to say that in this day and age, in where there's more computers and more mathematics and analytics around, that's nearly in every sport. And let's say using cycling as example, it's getting more and more about optimization and more about maths because it would be every second matters. So they're really fine tuning this to the next level to get every ounce of performance out of the bike and out of the cyclists as well. What better way to say this than with this movie, Moneyball, which hopefully you've heard of. So Moneyball is with Brad Pitt and it's about baseball and it's really using a computer-generated model or an analysis to hire new players. So we're building a new team. Which players does he hire? And he's hiring on a limited budget new players which may be overlooked in history. So a really fun movie to watch and very analytical based as well. I'm going to have a brief story here about Mac Horton, an Australian swimmer. So he's very well accomplished. Here he is winning gold medal, multiple gold medals, very accomplished. And just some interesting thoughts from him. So he said, "The water is my happy place. I love pushing myself in the pool and gaining personal growth in the process." So if I just sit back for a while and consider that, that's amazing because he's doing swimming, it's something he loves, and he's gaining personal growth, and he does it to an amazing success, right? And so that's why I've put this kind of meme at the bottom. Talent is good, practice is better, but passion is best. And I hope I'm one step further to making it real that maths can be something we're passionate about. It can be a real job opportunity to solve real problems and something that we can enjoy doing as well. Um, I will also, to further this story um, for Mac Horton, he's still studying. So he's studying a business degree, commerce, and looking to combine it with architecture. So let's say as a sports person, you will retire at some stage and you'll most likely need a backup option of another passion which you have outside of sports. So definitely these business and commerce and architecture, has some, let's say, overlaps with engineering perhaps as well. Um, so you will definitely need a good foundation in maths, especially with finance being one of the subjects in commerce. So even as a sports person, you would want to be good at maths just to leave your options open because you never know what you'll need next. Okay, now more on the data scientists. So this is Michelle, who I used to work with, very popular. So Michelle's a great spokesperson um, and a great data scientist. So this is a great article on what it's like being a data scientist. How did she get there? What background she has? So a really cool article to read. And I will just briefly mention in case you were interested. So I might do another video on this later, but what does it look like to become a data scientist? So I am hiring. So what we generally look for is strength and quality of experience, academic qualifications, PhD or masters in any STEM fields. So we're not really too particular about the field. What's more important, I think, is evidence of having done difficult things, such as competitions like the Kaggle competitions I mentioned before, scholarships, or career progressions. So, as an example, and there's multiple routes to do this, so you don't need to follow this, but as an example, you might choose to do a science degree, let's say with maths or statistics, or a computer science degree, then pursue a master's in data science, for example, is a good option. Then is what is essential, as I said, is that Kaggle or competition experience. or hands-on employment experience to get a foot in the door. So, there's multiple grad programs and hopefully internships opportunities available out there. I highly recommend that. On-hands experience is really important. I will mention the PhD is optional, so it does take a fair few years to get a PhD. I think to get in the industry, it's not really a requirement, but if you were to pursue, those cutting edge um, fields, let's say you're really interested in the clean energy one, or you're really interested in the games one, even, working for a really top company, let's say in the US, such as Spotify or something like that, then getting a PhD will look very good on your resume. And you do learn a lot of skills in research and self-management as well doing a PhD, so definitely one to keep in mind. And that's it. Hopefully, I've opened your eyes a bit to some of the future potential applications of maths, how it can be interesting and exciting, and lead to real career pathways in the future. So next up, let's say you're motivated, you want to do more, and but you're not really sure how. So in the next video, I'll be talking more about the key concepts on practice. See you next time.